Let's start with the fact that Trump wasn't exaggerating when he said that Venezuela is de facto running the United States of America. Today, 2 tankers that tried to break through the blockade were seized and are now on their way to the United States of America. In addition, off the coast of Venezuela, there are oil tankers like these here, and they are carrying between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. This is a barrel of oil. All this oil is starting to move toward the oil refineries in the United States and will be sold at auction. The proceeds, Trump said, will benefit American and Venezuelan citizens. The de facto ruler of Venezuela, who is the brother of the current female president, fled to Kuwait, and his sister, the current president, is negotiating either her departure or her participation in the transitional government. She has a third option, of course, which is prison, but she probably doesn't want to go there. The tanker Bella 1, which did not obey the order of the United States Navy to stop, had a Russian flag painted on it afterwards, and during the chase, its name was changed from Bella to Mariner. So, Mariner, yes, the captain declared that this was actually a Russian tanker. So, after leaving the Caribbean towards the Atlantic, the captain reported that he was now under the protection and patronage of the Russian Navy, and immediately Russian warships appeared in its formation. I think there were 2 of them and a submarine. When it became clear that Russia had decided to seriously bluff, Trump personally gave the order to seize this vessel near the British Isles. American troops boarded the tanker and turned it toward the oil ports of Iceland. By the way, I don't actually know if there's oil there or not, but in any case, if there is, they'll pump it out. And if not, even if they do pump it out, the tankers will later be sold, confiscated, and auctioned off. Russia will publicly accuse the United States of America of violating maritime law regarding the tanker flying the Russian flag, which is painted on its side, which of course is complete and utter nonsense because it was sailing along our shores under the Panamanian flag. So, Russian-speaking bloggers who have been making money for years by fueling hatred toward Trump are now writing that Putin made a deal to create the impression that Trump is not a Kremlin puppet, which, according to them, he supposedly is. And they also say Putin's pacifier. I don't know what they mean by that. By the way, I was thinking that the capture of Maduro and the expulsion of Russia from Venezuela, and by the way, the simultaneous organization of uprisings in Iran with the goal of driving Russians and Chinese out of the Middle East, are also being carried out as part of the project to convince the public that Trump is not a Russian spy named Krasnov. I'm not a Russian spy named Krasnov, so that means I'm a Russian spy named Zelenov. Come on, what won't Vovka and his daughter do to convince us that his daughter isn't a Kremlin puppet? They might even destroy Russia itself, just so we don't suspect the truth. And here, the Russian-speaking tough guys and talkers will say that this is all being done by collusion and on assignment. Well, the Federal Security Service, or whatever it's called now, why would they say that? Well, because they really love money. I said they really, really love money. Thank you, I love money much more than my own mother. White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt was asked, "Aren't you afraid of a confrontation with Moscow, a confrontation?"
This morning, a ship from the Venezuelan Shadow Fleet was detained in the North Atlantic under a United States federal court warrant after being tracked for transporting sanctioned oil to the United States. The president will not tolerate these actions. I'd also note the vessel had a court-ordered arrest warrant and crew. This means the crew is now subject to prosecution for any federal law violations and may be brought to the United States if needed.
As Carolyn mentioned, about 25 sailors are being taken from the ship to the United States for trial. Despite the demands of the Russian Federation to return its citizens, there were Russians, Ukrainians, and Indians on the ship. There were no military disagreements between the Russians and Ukrainians. They were together transporting unauthorized oil on orders from Moscow. The second tanker, Sofia, was sailing without a flag at all and was involved in shadow operations of the Russian fleet. Well, that's what they got caught for. In the United States and around the world, this is called smuggling and is subject to confiscation, meaning it will be confiscated. And this tanker as well. The first year of Trump 47, the first 12 months of Trump's unusually successful presidency will be in a week, and we've already had about 20 years' worth of events, meaning there have been many changes in both the foreign and domestic policies of the United States of America. The Democrats' last hope is to stop Trump in the elections of 26, historically in the so-called midterm elections, meaning they're not for the president. That's why they're called midterms. Usually the party that lost the presidency 2 years ago wins. So Trump and all of us really want to turn this in the other direction, meaning to stop it and reverse it.
Together, we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we'll make history and break records with a huge midterm election victory. Winning presidential elections is rare. It's incredible. Winning the presidency is amazing, and we've had a successful presidency. I'll say this, you have to win the midterm elections, because if we don't win the midterm elections, it'll still be like that. I mean, they'll find a reason for impeachment. They'll impeach me.
He's right. They'll find a reason. It doesn't matter what. The main thing is not to let him fix life on the home front, not to let him make our lives freer, richer, safer. They'll find a reason to impeach, and one for the Democrats if things get richer or safer. It's like death to them. They need poverty. They need a resentful population ready to sell any birthright for a bowl of soup, as well as their second and third kinship. One of the factors that could bring millions of Latinos to Trump is the capture of Maduro and helping the people of Venezuela.
I am pleased to announce that the interim authorities of Venezuela will transfer between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality sanctioned oil to the United States of America. The president states that the oil is not a gift, but will be sold at market price and controlled by the United States to help the people of Venezuela. The president is appointing Energy Minister Chris Wright to execute the plan. If successful, President Trump says Venezuelan oil will go to the United States. This budget will be a major challenge for Venezuela's new leader, Delcy Rodriguez, if the deal is approved.
Let's see. Lucas Tomlinson live from Washington. Lucas, thank you. Let's invite former Energy Minister Dan Bruetta. Mr. Minister, thank you very much for joining us. So this announcement is that the Venezuelan government is going to deliver between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. This shows the interim president is now responding to President Trump's demands. So with that being said, how significant do you think this is in terms of where all of this is heading?
Well, I think it's very important. I mean, it reopens the Venezuelan market for United States refineries again.
We have to remember that most of this oil is heavy sulfurous crude oil. It's a very specialized fuel in our system. Today, many refineries in the Houston area and in the Louisiana area are designed specifically to process this kind of fuel. So the fact that the president is reopening this is very important news for American refiners, I think. And I think they're excited about it. I believe the president is absolutely right to make this oil available to these refiners. I think American consumers will benefit in the long run from these decisions.
So, explain what 30 to 50 million barrels of oil means for American consumers, focusing on the numbers.
Well, I mean, it's not that much if you think about it. I mean, out of context, 30 to 50 million barrels sounds like a lot of oil, but the world consumes about 100 million barrels a day, maybe even 102 or 103. And just in the United States, we consume about 19 million barrels a day. So it's, not that much. For us, it's a supply for maybe 2 or 3 days, but the important thing is the signal it sends. It's the fact that Venezuela could potentially be open for business again. It's important, and I think the president is heading the right way on this issue.
We also want to kick out Russia, China, Hezbollah, North Korea, Cuba, and for now, Islamic Iran. Where do we want to kick them out from? Actually, it's from here, but in this particular case, from Venezuela and really from all the countries bordering us.
You know, Mr. Secretary, another important piece of news that came out overnight is that the Trump administration made a statement to the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez. The only way to extract more oil in Venezuela is to expel all the opponents from your country, China, Russia, Iran.
A complete reshaping of the market, a complete reshaping of United States geopolitics, which includes Greenland. Trump told us we need Greenland, we will buy it, because it is an important part of our strategic defense line.
I'll tell you this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security perspective. Its strategic importance is simply enormous. Right now, Greenland is literally covered with Russian and Chinese ships everywhere. We desperately need Greenland from a national security standpoint, and Denmark simply won't be able to handle it. I can guarantee you that.
Whose Greenland is it? Is Greenland really filled with Russian and Chinese ships? I'm not so sure about that. But we can't allow our potential rivals or even enemies to establish themselves there. Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and all the way to the Panama Canal, plus the Caribbean Sea, plus our neighbors, let's say within 2,000 kilometers of our borders, should be our allies, our partners, our like-minded friends. We'll even help them prosper and defend themselves, and they should serve as a buffer on the approaches to the United States. Subtitles. And we skated there. But we will achieve this.
There is currently a lot of concern, especially among European leaders, that Trump is planning to seize Greenland by force, essentially invading it, similar to what he did in Venezuela. However, a number of analysts point out that Trump actually does not want to invade Greenland. Instead, the threats of military invasion are a negotiation tactic. His goal is to create chaos and then pull back. And now it seems we have confirmation of that. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has officially informed Congress that Trump intends to buy Greenland, not seize it by force. At least, that's what we're being told. The briefing, which was originally about Venezuela, reportedly quickly shifted to Greenland, given Trump's recent statements and what Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller just said.
This has been the official position of the United States government since the beginning of this administration, and frankly, even since the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should become part of the United States. The president has made the United States government's official position on this issue clear.
But tell me
That a military conflict with Greenland is not an option, and this won't be a military operation. Greenland, Jake, only has 30,000 people. The real question is, on what grounds does Denmark even claim control over Greenland? What is the basis for their territorial claims? On what grounds do they consider Greenland their colony, a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO, so that the United States can ensure security in the Arctic, protect NATO and its interests. Greenland should be part of the United States, and our country and the global community will discuss and work through this process. So I don't mean you.
You can't rule out the United States using military force to seize Greenland.
I understand, Jake, you're trying really hard, which again is your job, and I respect that. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That flashy headline that says, I'm not looking for an answer. The question: Greenland should be part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about it in the context of a military operation, which you're asking about. No one is going to fight the United States over the future of Greenland. Last question, Stephen Bread.
Yes, but you'll notice that Stephen Miller, like Trump, did not rule out a military coup. Of course, part of the absurdity that Miller is talking about is that there won't be any military resistance if the United States takes over Greenland. We could just do it. Neither Denmark nor anyone else could do anything to stop us. That's exactly why European leaders are literally going crazy with outrage. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned that the purchase of Greenland by the United States would immediately destroy NATO, which is the most obviously absurd bluff imaginable.
This is a remarkable statement from someone who doesn't seem completely foolish. It sounds like, if you take over Greenland, we won't let you spend billions on defending Denmark anymore. That's interesting, isn't it? So, basically, excuse me, a bare ass warned Yezh that if anything, she would sit on him. I don't know, she, the Prime Minister, not the ass, understands the absurdity of her feverish nonsense. We've been protecting them for 40 years already, and all they do is say nasty things to us. They don't spend any money from the savings, and they bribe voters. And now they're saying that if we misbehave, they'll forbid us from protecting them. There used to be a Danish prince, but now there's a Danish fool. For us, that's a hooray. A reduction in military spending by at least $200 or maybe even $300 billion a year. If they all ask us not to protect them, either Europe will run to surrender to Russia or it will have to start building up. Well, I don't know about their own defense. Whether they will be able to do it now, after such a break, I don't know. Millions of migrant beggars would be happy to get it. Riots, fires, and street wars happen when you keep giving and then stop. They shout, "This is ours, we deserve it." So there will definitely be riots. Their police, walk around unarmed, putting sandwiches in their holsters. Are there any more idiots in Europe? No, she's not the biggest idiot in Europe, I mean the Danish fool. There's also another Kozlina who was appointed responsible for NATO expansion. Have you ever heard of that? Where are they planning to expand it? They've just gone off the rails, and this guy has totally lost it. We, he said, will take away America's military bases.
If you take this, we will seize every American base from Aviano to Ramstein, from Romania to all the other military bases. They will be confiscated and you will lose them, along with all the American power since World War II. If you take Greenland, you will have to leave. It's very simple. Mrs. Miller, that's the leverage we have. You need these bases for global power projection. You won't have them, and we can protect ourselves very well. And we'll do it defenselessly, without the United States nuclear shield, without American troops in Europe, without American bases. We'll just run these bases ourselves and send your guys home to Chicago and to Ohio. And goodbye. If you go to extremes, we will go to extremes too, rest assured.
Do you realize that he seems to believe that Europe will be able to defend itself? He's not bluffing. He knows that we are aware of their weapons, their combat readiness, their army, and their military industry. So he doesn't understand. He's not just bluffing. He actually believes that they can defeat us, that they can drive us out. They will defeat everyone else too, including Russia and China. That's natural, but if they can handle us with their left hand alone, then for China and Russia, they'll use their right hand as well.
Why, for heaven's sake? Why is it so vital for Trump that the United States takes control of Greenland? As it turns out, this goes far beyond simple national security. The real answer will just blow your mind. The world as a whole is being reorganized, it's being rebuilt and recalibrated around great civilizational spheres where there isn't. Undisputed political power bears the highest responsibility for stewardship over the shared cultural and geographic space. And both Venezuela and Greenland find that they, in their essence, and again, whether it's good or bad, it's just what happens. They are drawn into the gravitational pull of this so-called cosmic sphere. Again, the most important thing here is that this is happening right now, whether anyone likes it or not. The age of globalism is over and has run its course. Now, the era of civilization states is quickly emerging. LearnVex is about to come under the control of a new owner.
The Panama Canal, Venezuela, it seems like Cuba and Nicaragua, and very possibly part of Canada, and then all of Canada. So they're forming a bloc centered around the United States, and besides that, they're clearing out other regions where friendly blocs are organizing their own centrifugal systems. There, for example, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Syria. The new Iran, I hope. Syria, the new Syria. Jordan, Lebanon, the new Lebanon. All those descendants of Abraham who have been fighting each other for thousands of years. Now it means their time has come. They're uniting their efforts because new barbarians, predators are coming. So they need to raise the standard of living and security in their corner of the world, especially since America will help. News from Iran, Krunt, Prince Reza Pahlavi, Adam, an order for the army to protect the rebels from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Subtitles by Dimitar Zok.
It finally happened. For the first time in many decades, the Islamic Republic of Iran has lost control over its own territory. There are reports that 2 major border cities have fallen to the protesters. Meanwhile, security forces are laying down their weapons and joining the revolution. But as the regime loses its grip, their response becomes terrifyingly brutal, from shooting at hospitals to blackmailing grieving families.
Planes, refueling aircraft, and other equipment began to be moved to the borders of Iran, and the Delta Force, which had just kidnapped Maduro, was transferred to the border with Iran.
The Islamic regime's difficult situation is worsened by reports of United States Army Delta Force special units deploying near the Iraq-Syria border. Of course, this is definitely not in the immediate vicinity of Iran. It is located on the opposite side of Iraq relative to the Iraq-Iran border. But it is certainly closer than where the Delta Force units were just a few days ago.
This isn't even a hint anymore. It's like a log in the eye, a pile in the American tent. Yes, go ahead and give the order to fire at Israel and at American bases.
The report suggests that the United States may turn its attention to Iran. The target is none other than the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, 87 years old under heavy protection, the man at the very top of the Iranian system. Let me tell you exactly what this report suggests. According to the Jerusalem Post, as well as other media sources, the United States is considering the possibility of targeted intervention. Israel is watching closely, considering how the operation in Venezuela could become a model here. The goal is to pressure the Iranian regime and possibly weaken its leadership. But you know what this targeted intervention really means. Here, it's not a declared war, not yet. It could be an intelligence operation, a strategic pressure point, possibly also the isolation of Khamenei himself, or actions aimed at strengthening the protest movement against the current government. Basically, to put it briefly, this will make the regime feel vulnerable. And right now, Iran is facing unprecedented unrest. The timing is perfect. The economy is collapsing, the currency is rapidly depreciating, and the protests are spreading like wildfire.
Well, what if Delta or Mossad or even Iran's own teams, on the orders of Reza Pahlavi, capture Khomeini or isolate his headquarters? Can you imagine that in just 1 year of Trump's rule, he destroyed the advantage of all anti-American blocs? And at the same time, the stock market in the United States breaks records every week, every single week, growing like yeast. I really want Make America Great Again. Well, the Republican Party, the right wing, let's call it that. Yeah, I want Make America Great Again to win the majority in Congress this November. And what started so triumphantly with Trump 47 would continue for another 3 years. And then what? Then Trump's successors would cement it, would strengthen what he built, so that a leftist who comes to power wouldn't be able to easily destroy all of this and turn it back. Well, like Mamdani, even though I've said his name so many times, I always want to mispronounce it for some reason, but anyway, it's Mamdani. In a way, he's a necessary person because it's important to show all of America what this is. Every generation needs to see for themselves what happens when you start playing around with egalitarianism, collectivism, the idea that the collective is more important than the individual, and so on. As he said, cold individualism will give way to warm, I think he said warm collectivism. Oh my God, come on, ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again soon.